there, my name is Emilia and I'm a college student at the University of Southern California, and this is my first YouTube video. I don't normally record myself, but I've had a recent life experience that I feel may help other people in a same situation that I found myself in. So I decided to make this video to talk about my experience with getting diagnosed with autism in college and how it led up to this and why I was diagnosed so late. Again, a brief background on what autism actually is. Autism is a complex developmental condition that affects individuals' ability to function regularly. For example, your social functioning, your motor skills, your communication, and your behavior may all be impacted by autism, depending on how it affects you. Autism is essentially an umbrella term to describe a variety of complex traits that that differ from person to person. So not everyone with autism expresses it the same way, although people often do share similar traits. Plus autism, also differs depending on your sex, so it presents differently in males than it does females. A year ago, I knew none of this. I had no idea my traits were indicative of autism in any way. Although I did have troubles as a child socializing and communicating. I always felt like an alien, and I really did not know how to come to terms with my emotions. I didn't know how to tell people that I was having trouble. It was very hard for me to communicate with other people, especially on an emotional sense. I struggled with that. However, as I grew older, it became easier for me, and I feel pretty adequate in terms of socialization. I'm able to go to parties and things, although it does take quite a bit of mental preparation in order to do so. As a child, it was the complete opposite. My teachers didn't really recognize that there was something going on, especially since I was excelling in school. I had very good grades. However, I was not going to recess. I was not eating at lunch. I was not communicating with my peers in a way that was normal. When it came to applying to college, I was very excited to meet like-minded people and finally focus on my academic goals. So for the first few weeks in this exciting college environment that I'd always dreamed of, it certainly fogged my vision of how emotionally and mentally drained I was becoming. I was quickly falling into a depressive episode because of mental health problems that were only now becoming evident when I was in a college setting, because I was living in a communal dorm with other students and I did not have control over my life, basically. And what I mean by that is my food, my schedule, basically what I did throughout the day was not scheduled how it was in high school and while I was younger, so it became more evident that I was struggling. I was mentally exhausted, and this exhaustion paired with my identity issues that came along with masking and not getting help for my sensory problems, especially when I was younger, led to burnout and suicidal meltdowns almost every week my freshman year. A number of inconveniences stemming from my mental health problems eventually led me to seek services for my disordered eating, depression, and anxiety. At this point, I had been living with mental illness for quite a while. When I was 12, I was diagnosed with extreme obsessive compulsive disorder, among other things, so this was not my first rodeo. These conditions, coupled with my past history and current disordered eating, led to a neuropsychological evaluation which did confirm that I have autism. So suddenly, so much of my life made more sense. It was almost transformative in a way. As a child, so many of my behaviors never had an explanation, and I never knew how to describe how I was feeling. Growing up, and even to this day, so many aspects of my life are contributed to autism. One of the best examples of how my autism affects me on a day-to-day basis is through sensory problems. And basically, I have very strong hypersensitivity to taste and texture, and that is probably my biggest issue. My diet has remained completely unchanged since I was around 4 years old, and the best way I can describe why is that imagine two of your least favorite foods put together, and imagine your sensory reaction to eating those being attributed to 95% of other foods. Basically, when I eat entire food groups. So fruits and vegetables are essentially off limits to me unless they are prepared in a certain way. Like I can eat applesauce, however, apples themselves, eating them, the texture and the taste, they make me, it makes me chew it like for like 100 times before I'm able to swallow it, if I'm even able to swallow it. Otherwise, I'll just make myself choke and I can't eat it. My reaction to smells is heightened. So if something smells a certain way, I sometimes have to leave the room. So for example, when my boyfriend makes either eggs or salmon, I cannot stay in the room because it will make me want to throw up. I've been living off of a diet my entire life, literally, of like French fries, chicken nuggets, grilled cheese, a lot of cheesy foods. Cheese is like very safe for me. However, obviously this is not preferable because it's very unhealthy. So learning to expand my palate has been quite a challenge, especially since it's not related to bodily, like how I perceive myself in terms of body image. It's more to do with inability to handle textures because of autism. That problem in particular became very hard to hide, especially when I had to rely on dining halls that were serving foods that I was not able to eat. So I would go for periods of time without eating, or I would eat the same exact thing, which consisted of cereal and pizza. Aside from that, I'm still rediscovering a lot of traits of myself and just realizing it was me being autistic the whole time. It is difficult navigating this diagnosis, certainly, especially since it came 20 years after the fact. However, it's definitely validated a lot of the struggling I experienced, especially as a child, and even now in college, because I feel like my problems are still there. They've just evolved and present themselves differently today. I believe the lack of awareness and understanding of this condition and how it affects women is what allowed my autism in particular to go undiagnosed for so long. Autism in women is not considered often, especially since the diagnostic criteria for autism were entirely formulated based on a study using all male participants. Another reason I would argue I was not diagnosed earlier was because I was excelling academically, as I mentioned, despite having social, motor, and many other problems since before I was 4 years old. There are many other reasons why I feel like I was diagnosed later, in terms of like doctors and stuff like that, but that goes beyond the scope of this video and what I intend to cover. But if anyone has any other questions, just feel free to ask. I'm totally happy with answering. As of now, I'm just a junior in college. I'm really enjoying my classes, and the new doctors I have gotten through my school have helped me immensely, especially in terms of nutrition. I feel like without support and accommodations through my school's disability services, I would be in a very much a different place right now. I considered dropping out of college for a little bit because I felt that I was not equipped to handle the stress associated with it. Still, I'm so thankful I just stuck with it and I got the help I needed because, again, it's been life-changing, to put it in brief words. Having this diagnosis, it means I can finally get the help I needed, especially as a child. My best advice for fellow autistic people in college, or maybe even looking to enroll in college, would be to look for a school that you feel would be most comfortable for you. Another thing I would mention would be, do not be scared to disclose your autism to your school's disability or mental health services. Being autistic does not make you any less valuable of a student, and I want to stress that very much so. I would also recommend, getting acquainted with your school's disability services. Do not be scared to get accommodations if they are what you need. I would also try to find students who have very similar experiences, potentially through clubs or organizations, advocation, anything that will get you in the right position to be comfortable. Now, I know this was kind of brief. I just wanted to kind of gloss over my main talking points, but I wanted to thank you guys so much for listening, and if anyone has any questions or needs any advice, please feel free to reach out. I completely understand where you're coming from. So again, thank you so much.